What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we have another tier list suggestion from N Animator or Nanimator. It's one of those. I'm assuming it's one of those. And their suggestion for me today is rank all the Star Wars villains in a tier list. So before we jump in today, make sure to leave your suggestions in the comments below, because if I use your suggestion in a future video or a tier list or a ranking or whatever, I will give you a shout out in that video, just like Nanimator just got. Today's categories: we have amazing, we have good, we have okay, we have bad, and we have booty. I decided to throw booty back in just because I missed it, so I brought back the booty. And as you can see, I just have like the main specific villains of the live action movies. I do think that maybe I'll tackle this again in the future with, like, you know, the Clone Wars included, but for right now we're just going to do the main guys and just keep this a relatively simple tier list compared to what that one could be. So right off the bat, we're going to jump into episode 1's Darth Maul. Now, I guess I could consider this as a villain. Like, how evil are they, as well as how good is their story? Do I think that they are good characters? Do I think they're a bad character? Do I think they have good writing? And overall, if we were just going off of Darth Maul as a Phantom Menace character, while he looks amazing, he would be considered a bad character because he doesn't really have any development. He doesn't have any extra elements to him besides he's just bad guy who looks like the devil who's supposed to fight, you know, our essential hero of the episode 1, which was Obi-Wan. So that's what he was meant to be, and that's what he was meant to do, and that was it. But I would say over the years, through Clone Wars, through Rebels, through like just extended universe stuff altogether, Darth Maul is definitely in the good category. I don't think you can put him in bad anymore. At one time you could, like I said, but not anymore. You can't put him in bad. I understand an argument for maybe amazing. You can put him in either okay or good. He's a high okay, or he's like a mid to low good for me. And I think that's where he goes. So I'm going to put him right there. I guess let me know in the comments below if you think I'm wrong. I know a lot of people love Darth Maul. So let me hear it. Okay, so next one is Jango Fett. I think Jango Fett's okay. I would like to say that he's good, but he really doesn't have much to do in the movies as far as, like, I shouldn't say he doesn't have much to do, because in the second one, a good amount of the story follows him, but he's more of like a device to kind of lead into this whole clone army and the eventual Boba Fett, you know, that we see later on. So there's a bunch of different elements that happen around Jango, and I think that's like one of the things that you have to remember is, like, yes, Jango is part of this story, but it's more of like other things are happening and he's just kind of pulled in because he's connected to those other things. He's not the central purpose of those things. So I think overall I'd say he's okay. Although I do actually like Jango more than Boba. I always have. And I think his armor's better looking. I mean, that's just me. Jango overall as a character, as a villain, he is just an okay character. More of like a speed bump in the road. Especially if you consider it like Mace Windu. He was definitely a speed bump for Mace Windu. And we saw what happened. So with that said, let us move on to the next one. We have Count Dooku Darth Tyranus. For me, when I was younger, I thought he was the most boring Sith. I legit thought that he was the worst out of all of them. And the reason for that was because he was just a boring old man who talked too much. However, as time has gone on, and I learned more about his character and his beliefs and his ideals and why he turned against the Jedi, he was in league with Sidious the whole time. Oh, and how can you not admit that, you know, his personality and his burns, they're great. You know what I mean? Like Dooku is a great, sophisticated trash talker. I don't think anyone else rivals him. Even Kenobi is good. Kenobi's a good trash talker, but I think Dooku has him beat when it comes to that. So overall, while I used to put him in bad when I was younger, I actually think he's good. In fact, I'd put him in front of Maul. I like Dooku much more than Maul as far as character goes. Does Maul look cooler? Does Maul have more of the more epic scenes when it comes to the entire franchise than Dooku? Yeah, for sure. But I think what Dooku's character represents, and the idea that, like, he's not really a Sith as much as he is using the Sith abilities to get where he wants to go. Even with Vader kind of fell into the darkness. Maul was like always angry and wanted that darkness, and Dooku was like, I'm going to use that darkness to my advantage. And so he was able to kind of find that really interesting middle ground. So yes, he definitely did tip more towards the dark side of things. He was I guess you could say he was the closest thing to a uh, a dark Jedi that we've seen. I guess you could say Mace, but I would consider Mace more on the gray line, along with Qui-Gon Jinn. You know, they're more in the gray line spot. But if we were gonna say like a dark Jedi, Dooku is more of a dark Jedi than he is a Sith Lord. So I really think that's cool. And like I said, his character's awesome. So I'm gonna put him in there. Right there. I think is a good spot for him. Okay, next one we have General Grievous. I think Grievous is really cool. He's a really cool concept. I really like the idea of the octopus arms. He looks great, and the CGI still holds up till today. But I think he's an okay villain. He's kind of just like Jango in a way. He's a secondary villain, just kind of there. A lot of the plot evolves around him, and he's connected to it, so he gets pulled along like Jango Fett. So while I do think I like Grievous more than Jango, they're both kind of on the same level of okay. You know, they're not bad. I would understand an argument if you wanted to say they were bad characters, but they're definitely not booty characters, and I can't put them in amazing. So I'd understand if you were to put those in good or bad, but for me, I think they're just okay. Vader. Okay, so I'm going to put Vader in the very end because I probably have the most to say about him, so I'm going to save him for last. Palpatine. Palpatine's amazing. Guys, one of my favorite things about Palpatine is just how deliciously evil he is. I mean, not only is his character development pretty interesting because, like, he's kind of the same character, so he doesn't really change, but, like, he does. Like, he just gets more, like, sinister. Like, usually people have a character development where they start good and they go bad, or they start bad and they go good. But, like, Palpatine starts bad, and then he just gets, like, terrible. Like I don't mean bad like in, like, a bad character. He starts out a bad guy, and he becomes a terrible guy. You know what I mean? So it's just really cool to see that, like, that transition, because usually you don't get that. You don't get the bad guy who turns even worse. And it's just great to see how deliciously evil Palpatine is. He genuinely just likes to be evil, and he loves it, and he embraces it. And it's just one of those things, like, he almost comes off cartoony, and it works so well. Like, if any of these other characters on here acted like Palpatine does, it would ruin the movies. But Palpatine's allowed to get away with it because he is just so he's like the Joker of this universe. You know, he is just so sadistic, and it's amazing. I love it. So he's got to go up there and amazing. Next one, Boba Fett. I think more recent years, or I guess I could say like the extended universe, you know, the non-canon stuff. Boba has really gotten a lot more storylines, and I would have put him in good for that stuff. If we're talking about just based off the movies alone, you know, he's only in like 5 minutes out of the entire series. I'd put him down in like bad because he really doesn't have any development. He's legit just a speed bump for Luke. But if we're talking about overall what they did with him and what they're continuing to do with him, I think he is in the okay category. I might put him a little behind Jango. As time has gone on, I'm starting to really enjoy his character. I do think that the Book of Boba Fett was a little bit of a miss. Not terrible, just a little bit of a miss for me. So we'll see how they're going to do with like season 2 or his future of his character. It was still interesting, but I definitely think that Boba's still got a ways to go, which is also interesting because Boba used to be considered, before all the TV shows and even before like Disney bought Lucasfilm, you know, Boba was considered Darth Maul was considered the Boba Fett of the prequels, and like they were kind of like these cool characters that show up really, really brief and then die. And that's what they did. They just looked really cool. They died. They didn't have really any effect on the story. They're just there to die, essentially. And it's cool to see these characters really just kind of get their own character. They're no longer just bad guy who dies. They now have an actual story behind them. And Boba's story continues. So it's going to be interesting to see how much they can kind of expand on him. And maybe one day, I would like to put Boba in good. Maybe even amazing. But for right now, I just think he's an okay character. If you asked me this 5 years ago, I would have put Boba in the bad category, like I said, because there was no real development for him. But things are changing for Boba, so let's see how things go with it. Okay, next one, Jabba. I get Jabba's whole premise. He's the big slimy, literally slimy fat slug. Literally a fat slug. And he's just a bad guy. But if we're talking about character development, or I guess what he represents is he is literally the embodiment of slimy, greasy gangster. crime lord. You know what I mean? He legit is that. So I really like that fact that he is actually what he represents. But if we're going off of his character development and what he represents over the entire universe, I should say over the movies themselves and the theme of it, I think he's a bad character. So I'm going to keep him in bad. I like him. If we're talking about, like, you know, interesting type characters, you know, like how interesting is he, I might actually put him up in, like, good. But if we're talking about overall with all the different elements that tackle the idea of him, I'm going to put him in bad. I think he's just a bad villain. There's not much going on with him as far as the overarching story. And I think, especially when you compare him to these guys, you know, if you take these guys out, yeah, he's probably in the good. But when you compare him to actual true villains, he's just kind of like a sidestep. He doesn't compare. So I'm going to put him in the bad category. That may change. I could understand okay, maybe a good. I don't think he's amazing. And I could understand if you thought Jabba was a booty villain. But, you know, whatever. Okay, next one, Kylo Ren. So this is actually being split up because Kylo changes a lot throughout the sequel trilogy. But if we're just talking about generally just his character overall, I think he's an okay character. I'm probably going to put a little bit in front of Jango. If we were talking about like early Kylo, like just like episode 7, I might have just put him in bad, and mostly because there wasn't any development for him at all. But I will give credit to 8 and 9 because they do attempt to give him character development, especially 9. And I think it kind of raises him up a little bit. So while those movies kind of brought everything else down, I do think, you know, Adam Driver's a great actor, obviously, but I think that the character of Ben Solo or Kylo Ren got lifted up. So a lot of other things got dragged down. His character got lifted up. Besides the very end and what happened to his character, I'm not the biggest fan of. But for what we got, Kylo, he's up. So I'm going to put him in the okay for now. I'd like to put him in good. Maybe one day if we get more background on him, a little more extra explanation on him, he'll go up for me. But for right now, he's just kind of okay. Next, we have Snoke, or Palpatine's puppet. I'm actually going to put him in bad too. I just don't think there was enough to do with him. Here's the thing. Here's the thing though. I actually kind of want to put Snoke in the booty category. And the reason for that is because of the potential of the character. Snoke had the potential to be something crazy. And he just kind of became a puppet for Palpatine and then just was no longer existed. He was set up to be something amazing in episode 7. And just got cut right down, and that's it. And no more Snoke. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, ugh. The sequel trilogy really messed up what they could have done with the potential of what Snoke could have been. He should have just been Plagueis. They should have skipped the whole Palpatine thing. He should have been Plagueis. That would have reconnected everything back to the prequels, and it would have really connected the whole trilogy, the whole saga, I should say, together. But yeah, I have to put him in bad. I want to put him in good. I think the idea of Snoke, the initial idea, what was in my head before they ruined him, I think it's really cool. It's a good idea, but then he essentially goes nowhere. He does nothing, and because of that, he's bad. So that's just how I feel about that. Others may change. Like I said, I want to put him in the booty, but because he is a very threatening villain, and there's elements of him that I do find interesting, he's not completely unredeemable. So he's not booty, but he's still a bad villain / character altogether. And now we come to Vader. And guys, Vader's amazing. On any given day, I might switch these two, and the reason for that is because while I do think, obviously, Anakin / Vader has the more impactful story to me. You know, the slave boy who becomes a hero, who then becomes the fallen hero, who becomes the thing he sought to destroy. It is a very crazy and dynamic story, and episode 1 through 9, episode 1 through 6 is more of the story, but you know, episode 1 through 9 is still Anakin's story in a way. So it is the ultimate story as far as the Star Wars, the main Star Wars movies go. That is Anakin's story. That is Vader's story. I think he has to be at the top of your list. If not your top, he has to be in your top 3 if we're doing villains. And the reason why I might consider putting Palpatine in front of Vader is because Palpatine, like I mentioned, is like legit completely evil. Like, Vader's a bad guy, you know what I mean? But like Sidious is like evil, evil, evil. So I might switch these two as far as like who do I think is more evil? Definitely Palpatine. But who I think is the better overall character, with all the different elements that go into this this tier list and the different ideas that I was taking for all the other characters, he's the top. He's amazing. So I think that is my tier list for my Star Wars movies villains. Do you guys want to see me do the extended version where I just go and do all the Clone Wars and the Rebels and whatever else villains from other things? Let me know in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for a video or you want to see me react to something, let me know in the comments below, and if I use that suggestion in the video, I will give you a shout out. I do like 3 or 4 suggestion videos a week, and I'm trying to do a video every single day, so feel free to leave me multiple ones. Like just leave one per comment. So let's go ahead and do that down below, and if I use your suggestion, like I said, I'll give you a shout out. But thanks again for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Please consider liking, subscribing, and notifications for more videos. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later. Peace.